Look, I need to be frank and I'm going to be honest with you. I was ready to slam this car because I thought there's no way it's going to attract the attention of those German whip-loving Brits, even if it's much improved. But do you know what? I spent the morning in this new DS No4 and I've realised it's actually quite lovely in its own unique way, which is a shame because none of you are going to give it a second look. But hear me out on this, because this No4 follows the very lovely coupe SUV that is the new DS No8. And just like that, this is part of DS's soft relaunch to help the brand become bigger in markets that it's not entirely massive in, like, for example, the UK, where, of course, we're obsessed with alternatives like the 1 Series, the A3, the A-Class, and even top-spec Golfs. So in this video, I'm going to explain what you're missing out on by ignoring the DS No4. I'm going to cover things that it's better at and things that it's worse at compared to its main rivals, and I'm going to reveal how dangerously close it is in terms of pricing with those arch rivals. Looks pretty smart, doesn't it? In a very sensible way. I mean, it's got some familiar features up here. I mean, the grille, the illuminated DS badge, which I like a lot, and also the headlights all feel very familiar, as do these day running lights that point downwards. They're just like what you see on the No8, and I think they make the car look pretty elegant. Kind of the same on the wheels as well. These are 19-inch alloy wheels. You can't get any bigger on this E-Tense electric car, but you can on the other models. But I think the design is subtle and quite nice, but it's not very sporty, is it? That might be a tricky thing for a UK buyer to get used to, because all you want is big, sporty wheels, right? Well, look at the side of the car. There's more elegance rather than raciness. We've got these chrome finished door handles, which, by the way, pop out when you press them, and you'll see this 5-door body shape. It does kind of pinch towards the rear. That's nothing new, but what I really like on the back is actually the detailing in these tail lights. It's got quite an angular tailgate up here and a heck of a load of badges on the back. I think DS wants you to know what brand this comes from. But I think overall, actually, it's a smart, nice, a little bit elegant design. But I guess in a world, especially in the UK, of buyers who just want M Sport and R-Line, is it a little bit too subtle and sensible?
Maybe, but there's certainly a lot to like on the spec sheet. First of all, the No4 comes in 3 variants: a self-charging hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, and a fully electric E-Tense, meaning the No4 rivals not only the German petrol hatches I mentioned earlier, but also electric hatches such as the Volkswagen ID.3, MG4, and Cupra Born, and even the taller riding Renault Megane E-Tech.
Now, inside is where the DS starts to feel a little bit more, well, it makes more sense, I would say, because what you've got is a nice mixture of some soft touch materials and a bit of analog, but like I promised you earlier, there's also some bits that fall behind its rivals. So let's start with the good bits first, shall we? I really like the dash layout and the design up here. It sort of wraps around you and the vents are all part of that theatre. And also the screen, while it's familiar as a Stellantis screen, they've done a nice job of embedding it in there, and all the technology, while it's the same as you'll get on other Stellantis models, think of Citroën and Peugeot, all very recognisable. You get some snazzy new colours, including some blue and some slightly bronzy colours as well. And the same is true for the instrument cluster over here. It's all very crisp and clear. It will be familiar if you know the other brands in the group. But the key thing is it's easy to use and it does look quite nice. But you also get some buttons and some manual controls, which is not common in this class. I mean, Volkswagen, they did away with loads of their buttons. They're bringing them back on the steering wheel, but you've still got those fiddly heater controls. And BMW did away with the iDrive as well, which was so useful. So in this car, while we do have to use the touchscreen for most of the things, there are a few handy shortcuts. For example, if I want to get to the climate control, I can at least press this actual button over here to make quick adjustments. Of course, then I have to dive into the screens, but it's a bit better than some of the rivals. And the same is true for your media controls and the buttons on the steering wheel as well for your driver assistance, whether that's your adaptive cruise or whether that's your radio volume as well. So it's a little bit easier to use on the go. But while the materials are nice, there's some softer rubbery materials here with some nice stitching. The steering wheel feels nice in your hands, and the seats themselves as well are very supportive, comfortable, and I can get nice and low. Plus, you get some nice soft touch materials in the bits where you rest your hands and even your palm over here. It's true on your door as well. There are a few scratchier plastics lower down. I mean, weirdly with the glove box, for example, it's a quite firm plastic outside, but then they've actually fabric lined the inside. So they've kind of done it inside out, I'd say. It doesn't feel the most high spec in these lower sections. You can feel the shared componentry. But overall, I think I like the interior, even if it is a little bit snug up here. Seating position is great for me, but yeah, it's a little bit snug, and you're not exactly full of storage options as well. This is pretty shallow. This is all right with your wireless charging mat, and the glove box is average. So practicality wise, it's nowhere near the best. But in terms of niceness and usability, it's pretty good.
Now, you know how I promised you really good things in the DS No4? They're coming, but they're not in the back seats, because it's pretty cramped in there. There's barely enough head and leg room for a near 6-footer like me to get comfy, and don't even think about getting in the middle seat if you're over 5 foot tall. At least, there's a proper ski hatch though.
Now, it wasn't a win in the back seats, but do you know what? The boot isn't too bad, and it's actually surprised me because when I looked in here, I thought it looks quite narrow, but it's actually deceiving because the car is quite wide around it. In fact, we've got 390 litres of usable space up top here. The negative is that this loading lip here is pretty thick. In fact, it's that thick. So if you're loading heavy items in, you're gonna have to get them over this and then you're gonna have to drop them into the boot, which might be a bit tricky. And the boot floor isn't even adjustable. You can't lift it up so that you have that flat loading lip. It's always down there. And by the way, there is no space for storage underneath either. This car has the sound system subwoofer in there to give you extra bass, but it means you can't use it for any kind of storage. And interestingly, the boot is a little bit bigger than some of its main rivals. Now this, as I said, is the E-Tense, so you can think of, for example, the Volkswagen ID.3. This is very slightly larger, and even compared to the petrol equivalents and the hybrid equivalents, the hybrid version of this remains relatively competitive, despite what I initially thought. So I think from the boot perspective, it's sensible. Oh yeah, and if I could just spend a second saying thank you for watching this video. Of course, some of you will know the channel is still fairly new, so I'd really appreciate it if you could click the subscribe button if you haven't already. All the support is much appreciated. Back to the DS.
So the interior and boot are all right, but here is where things get really good. The No4 is very comfortable on the move. It's refined and it's effortless, if not particularly quick in electric form, but it's stable through the corners, and this E-Tense, which I'm driving first, puts its 213 horsepower of punch down with no issues. And handily for city drivers, the one-pedal driving strength is adjustable with paddles behind the wheel, although it doesn't quite bring the car to a complete stop. But overall, the No4 E-Tense is a softer, more refined drive than its main electric rivals.
And you know what? That refinement and comfort sort of makes up for the fact that this E-Tense isn't the most competitive in the class when it comes to overall range and also charging, because with a 58.3 kilowatt hour battery, you've got 279 miles of range to play with, which is good but not great in the class. And also with a maximum charging speed of 120 kilowatts, it's going to take quite a bit more than 30 minutes to go from 10 to 80%, which again is good but not great.
And unlike its rivals, including the MG4 and ID.3, there's no bigger battery version of the No4 to offer more range if you need it.
But unlike most of those rivals, the DS No4 is also available as a plug-in hybrid, which is what I'm driving now. And with 225 horsepower, it's quick off the line. It's pretty warm hatch feeling actually, but it feels electric initially. And plus, you can also do 50 miles in purely electric mode as well, which, yeah, isn't the best in the class, but it's going to be very useful in cutting tax and also allowing most of us to not wake the petrol engine in city driving. And best of all, just like the E-Tense, this plug-in hybrid is really comfortable. It's refined, it feels great over the bumps and potholes, it soaks up all of the worst of city furniture on the road. And it means the car is just effortless and easy to drive. You just leave it in automatic hybrid mode and cruise around. To make things even easier, DS has engineered in the latest version of ChatGPT to the technology. So in theory, I can ask it things in a conversational manner. Well, we're in Porto, so it'd be rude not to. Okay, Iris, where is the best port wine in Porto? Thinking about it.
The best port wine in Porto is found in Villanova de Gaia, renowned cellars like Taylor,
Okay, Iris.
Ferrera, Graham's,
Okay, Iris.
Calum, and
Iris.
recommended near
Okay, Iris.
less touristy.
Iris, take me there. Okay, Iris.
So there's a lot to like on the road, but still, this DS has a real fight on its hands to stand out against alternatives.
And of course, pricing for this car means it's alongside rather than able to beat its rivals. So for example, the entry-level self-charging hybrid DS No4, well, that starts at £32,000, which is alongside those dangerous rivals like the BMW 1 Series. And even this E-Tense, well, it starts at £37,000, putting it alongside higher rank versions of the Volkswagen ID.3. And you have to spend a couple of grand more in this to get a standard fit heat pump.
At least the plug-in hybrid I like so much faces fewer rivals, and at £39,000, it can claim to undercut the Mercedes A-Class plug-in by a couple of grand.
Really, this new DS4 is a real contrast to the sporty, heavy crossovers that the market's buying at the moment. It's compact, but it's refined, it's cohesive, and it's comfortable. The problem is that the numbers on the spec sheet, they don't do much to lure people away from their beloved German alternatives. And I think that's a real shame, because I think for those of us who still value refinement and comfort, there's a lot to love in this car. If you want to give one a try, I really think you should do it, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.